talking Major League Baseball now, and of course the trade deadline has come and gone, at least the non-waiver trade deadline. And some big names have gone to different teams. However, they went to places that we didn't expect, and I know it's a bit of a surprise for you, and I guess the questions, for both of you gentlemen, is, I wouldn't say so much who won it, but what was the biggest surprise?
I think, I think the Oakland deal there, I mean, they must be pretty darn serious about winning some ball this year because they're top already, and then to go out and pick up three another big hitters or big guys, you know, like that's awesome.
Yeah, it surprised me. Billy Beane is always known as a guy that's going to sit on his wallet. He's not going to spend a lot of money. He's going to do it the Moneyball way. And that they must know that this window of opportunity to win is now. And now let's take advantage of it. But also what Detroit did, wow. Like you look at their pitching staff, how many Cy Youngs do they potentially have there? Like, it's amazing.
I think all three of the last three winners have all are now playing for Detroit.
Yeah, that's amazing. So and you always talk about arms win you games in October. Well, they have to get to October to make it mean something, but if they get there and if they're close to the dance, they're going to get in the dance and they're making a lot of noise in the playoffs.
Well, talking about noise, the Toronto Blue Jays made little. Every team in that division did something, either trade a player, get something in return, you name it. Baltimore, New York, Tampa, everybody. Boston, of course, with Cespedes in exchange for Lester. But you look at some of the names that have gone, and the Blue Jays remain idle. The Blue Jays are just about a game and a half back from the Baltimore Orioles for first. They hold on to the second wild card, or at least tied with the Angels for the top two wild card spots. But nothing. Frustration sets in. You look at what happened against the Astros, losing the final two games. They ask Jose Bautista, are you disappointed? He says yes. Is it a cause for concern when you have your best player coming out and calling out management saying, yes, we're frustrated, it's disappointing, they didn't pick up anybody? Ron?
Bautista is, I guess, a little outspoken to start with, but I mean, good for him. He's saying what all the fans are saying, right?
Yeah, it kind of surprised me they didn't do anything, but at the same time, you have to keep in mind, you don't want to sacrifice your young talent, and that's what teams would go after. They want to get some of your young talent if they're going to give up some talent for you for short-term.
Well, it didn't seem like they were giving up talent. I would say it was not prospects. They were giving up, like it would have been, if anything, if you look at Cespedes in the trade with Oakland, with Boston, it was a player-for-player deal. They gave up a bit of power in exchange for a pitcher to help them out.
And the thing that was happening with the Jays at the time, they had three guys on the injury list. I think Laurie's coming back tonight. That's going to be huge. Lind is on the injury list, and Edwin is on the injury list. All of a sudden, you put those three back in the lineup, they're a different ball team.
Is this team then able to make the playoffs with the current roster they have?
They can make the playoffs. They're doing quite well, actually.
Yeah, they got 9 games against Baltimore, I believe now. One tonight. Baltimore is a team that they just keep on finding ways to win. They're not scoring a lot of runs, but it's just kind of a magical season for them right now, and you kind of wonder when the glass slipper is going to fall off. I don't know if it will in Baltimore. So it's going to be tough. The Yankees are getting better. Boston, don't count them out. Tampa Bay's done, but it's going to be interesting. The Jays are too much of a roller coaster kind of team. They could be awesome for a week, 2 weeks, and then they can hit the skids that quickly like they did in Houston.
All right, what about the Bombers? We'll move on to the CFL. Bombers and Riders. Finally, the first of 3 meetings in the next 5 weeks. How about that? So if you like this rivalry, it's going to get even better since Winnipeg moved to the West. Not only that, but Winnipeg's actually good now. 5-1. A few riders coming in there, former riders, Drew Willie being one of them. That's done very well for Winnipeg. On the other hand, or on the other side, you have Will Ford, who was released and in his first 2 weeks has 5 touchdowns for the Riders. Who has the advantage going into Thursday's matchup?
Gosh, that'd be you're right. But Willie is playing so well. And what a talent, you know, I don't know. I think if I was the Riders, I'd be a little nervous. And it's nice to see Winnipeg back in the West.
Yeah.
Well, it's about time. It makes sense.
It looks nice to see a football team in Winnipeg again. You know what? Winnipeg is going to be strong at home. It's a noisy ballpark. They compare it to Seattle. The only thing that's probably working against the Riders right now, they played Saturday in Ottawa. They're staying on the road. They're not going home to Regina. That could either benefit or be a drawback against it. It's a short week, and people don't realize in football, if you don't have 5 days between games or potentially more, that's a short week. You don't practice on game. You don't practice a day before game, so you have a really short term to get ready for that game on Thursday. I say Winnipeg.
That's why the
Winnipeg's-
Riders stayed out
yeah.
in Ottawa, because they didn't want to go travel all of a sudden
Yeah.
back to Regina, then go to Winnipeg. It'd be too much for a team.
But still a short work week regardless. I say Winnipeg's going to be tough to beat at home, and it may be an opening, eye opener for the Riders, because Riders have had good starts. If they don't have a good start on Thursday, they're in a whole lot of trouble.
Okay, well, talk about a great start. Tennis in Canada, huge. Of course, we have the Rogers Cup on the women's side. They'll be starting up shortly. You also have two gentlemen. You have Vasek Pospisil and Milos Raonic, both meeting in a final in an ATP event, first time in Canadian history. Milos Raonic winning in straight sets. This is great news for Canadian tennis, but how much of this can we read into in saying the future is bright for Canada?
Well, when you have a young fellow like Pospisil that can knock off a Berdych to get into that, to start with, to meet with Raonic, that you're going to see some big things in tennis. Tennis Canada embarked on this program probably 15, 20 years ago. They had a program, a plan to increase the face of tennis in Canada, and it's all coming to fruition now. You know, at the start, it was hard to believe that this would ever happen, but it's amazing. I had the opportunity probably 7, 8 years ago to attend a conference in Ontario at Toronto, right at York, at the facility, and they laid out their plan, and they said, this is what we're doing. And part of the program was called Building Tennis Communities all around Canada. They put money into programs, junior programs. They helped us out with our programs here in Lloyd. We were able to get some money and some equipment from them, and this has really created big things for Canada.
You know what Bouchard and Raonic did at Wimbledon is amazing. I think this is just kind of even shows more that tennis in Canada is you really need two athletes like that, and it's more for the young kids coming up too. They see kids like Raonic, and they feel that, you know what, I have an opportunity to possibly do what he's doing, and if it gets kids interested in tennis, fantastic.
All right, when we return, we're going to have more. Gloves are off. This time, big game, over under. Who's going to win? Find out.